Today is Wednesday, July 31st, time is 7:00 p.m. I'd like to call the joint meeting of Town of Somerset, Village of Somerset to order. We do a roll call vote, so I think a roll call, starting with Doug.
Doug Clerk, Town of Somerset, and Chair of the Fire Rescue.
Ed Shockner, Chairman, Town of Somerset.
Donnie Kern.
Grant Crawl Village, Somerset.
Tim Witzman, Town of Somerset.
Mike Capper's Village.
Chris Marino, Village of Somerset.
Ryan Seacard Village.
Kristen Back Village.
Dave Wallner, Fire Commission.
All the can stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think we should take a roll call of the Fire Commission member.
So, Doug Clerk here, Chris Dubak, Wally Newman, Rita, and Dave Wallner. So that's all five, right? And Mike Capper.
Thank you.
Approval of agenda.
Make a motion to approve it as presented.
Second. First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Public comment on agenda items?
You want us now?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Well, I and a group of people, friends of mine, have been thinking that it would be a nice time to think about a museum for the village, for the community. And we sort of have our sights on the old town hall building because it's a beautiful building and it's from the 1800s, so kind of would be appropriate for a museum possibly. So we've been working at measuring things up and trying to put, our ideas together. It's a lovely building. It's been well cared for, thanks to the township. And the problem is that it's not very handicapped accessible. Yes,
I was just gonna mention that you are on the agenda. I don't know.
well, I think we are at the bottom and Mike suggested I go first, but I.
Oh, gotta do a presentation.
Oh,
Start and then
Okay.
Okay,
get into it
right,
a
I
little
don't
more.
wanna change that. The rules. Anyway, well, we would have to do something about it being AD accessible. And there's no restroom, there's no water connection to the building right now, so we're looking at planning an addition. And Bill Lawson has been doing a lot of work on that, so I'll let him come up and talk in just a minute. I volunteer at the library and they have a person there who is very up on artifacts, history, preserving those things. So she would be willing, the library would be willing to kind of assist us by getting this going. So that was good news for us. We're here to find out about zoning and setbacks and those things that pertain. That building was there long before all these rules were set, so we'll probably have to have a variance. We need water to the building, I guess I mentioned that, so we're planning that this would be called the Somerset Community Historical Association. And we would probably part of the St. Croix County Historical Society, and there's also a Kinnickinnick Historic Association, and there's some others like the Octagon House that's part of these also, and we're probably gonna contact them, and we want to have a formal historical association. So questions right now, otherwise I'll let Bill talk about space.
Any questions right now? I guess I would have a question once we get to it, more of a zoning question since it's in the township and then surrounded by the village.
It's in the village.
It's in, but it's.
We own it, but it's in the village.
Okay.
It's our jurisdiction, but they
They own.
they own
We
the
own
property.
We own the property.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, I don't have enough for everybody to share.
hand these around. They're basically variations on the same thing. We're talking with Nancy and others, it's really, how can we do something that gives us some good access for people that does not really affect the view of it? So if you think, we'd like to do something, so if you look at it like from the liquor store, it looks the same. And so we're looking at the, interestingly enough, that this building actually goes north and south. On the back corner, on the right side, if you're facing it, a small addition that would be big enough to have, you know, a little entrance area, bathroom, maybe a little area to work, things of that sort. The problem comes in is that we're pretty close to the next door neighbor. There's 14 feet, as I measured it, at least from the fence that's now there. I don't know if that's the right line, but 14 feet from that fence to the corner of the building. So there's kind of two concepts here of the same thing. One is one that we stay 7 feet, as I understand, away from the line. The other one is we get a variance for a point to stick out. And that makes a simpler building to build. But it does get closer to the basic idea is to put something on there. We would change the roof line in the back enough. It's a very steep roof, so it goes out over the addition. But if you look at it from the street or from over the side, it would look just the same. Then the second one is to build a walkway to get there. So that you could start from the walk in front of the building and get to it. There are some obstacles there. It's about 6 feet of rise from the walk to the floor. If you go with normal ADA sidewalk, you have 20 feet of distance for each foot of rise. So you've got 140 feet of sidewalk somehow to zig in there. If you put handicap, they allow steeper, one for each 12 feet. You can go up 1 foot, but you have to have a landing every 20 feet. So you have to go up. I mean, you've seen them, you go up and then you're flat and then you go up. So, but this is the basic idea, is building something small on that building that allows it to be accessed during all the summer. Be able to get people in with handicaps and then be able to utilize that building a lot better. It's in great shape because the township's done a good job of keeping a roof on it and some paint in it and being built in, I think, 1886 or something like that. It's got some beautiful old wood pine boards and things of that sort. Any particular questions about?
What year did you say it was built?
1886, I think.
I'm not sure, I'm not certain.
I mean, I thought that's what we do. When we did the Cesar Centennial, I think we picked 1886. Day that. Hey, Mr. Mason, who is the grant or the need of Family Harbor, is who built it.
I was kind of looking at that. It looks like you've got some sidewalk you can follow to get your elevation up.
In front, no, because it's the whole, you'd be nice and steep. One end is very steep. So you'd have to start out basically anywhere the sidewalk where the bricks are. Somewhere on there, you've got to get up 6 feet. So, and you can't go around the west side towards the old treadmill, forget what it's called now. That's way too steep. So, I mean, you can do things like put lifts in, but it's just a lot better if we can figure out how to get a sidewalk in.
There's no entrance in the back, it's only the front entrance right now.
The entrance, basically, if you walk inside, Nancy and I are talking, it'd be the last window on the right would be the entrance to the actual building.
Do you have a rough idea on cost? And also, are you planning on applying for any grants for this?
And we haven't even gotten that far.
Okay.
But
I mean,
grants,
It's
yeah,
not too big, but it doesn't take much money or much of a building to cost something, especially when you're putting a bathroom in and getting water and sewer. All that stuff.
Would you be able, Nancy mentioned to go with St. Croix County Historical Society, do they operate as a 501c3?
We could probably run it and should.
we'd have to get that, and if we were
That's what
part
I'm
of
saying.
that society, that would enable us.
You'd be under their
more
umbrella,
readily to get.
their umbrella to give you access to more grants.
Yeah.
Yes,
Is there
I mean-
requirements if you get those grants? I know at one time Nancy had talked about it being seasonal.
just open during the summer months, because it's not insulated or anything. With those grants, then are you required to be open longer or have?
I think it just depends on the grant, so we'd have to look at that.
Mm.
I had thought that since there's no heat in it, we would just run it from, maybe May until October. But Bill said it's maybe not that much more expensive to put a small heating system
I
in.
mean, it's got some
and an air
electric, so you
conditioning.
could put a,
Mini split.
mini split in there. It doesn't have a lot of electricity, but a little mini split can make a huge
Yeah.
difference in the building.
So then we could be open later in the fall and maybe a little bit earlier in the spring. I don't think we'd run it through the worst part of the winter.
You know,
And I'm thinking of 2 days a week and 2 hours each day.
Well, you'd have to keep it warm enough to at least keep the pipes from freezing.
yeah,
Well, and for all the artifacts,
Or
that,
unless you.
Yeah.
that should be kind of a consistent
the
temperature.
bathroom area would be separate enough that you could easily keep this warm all winter without, freezing up the place, because you wouldn't have it in anything. This is really an introductory thing to see, is the idea good? How can we fit that thing in? Because I know you don't have to have a 501c3, because villages and towns, if you give them money, it's the same deal. You get credit for it. Now, it may help us getting grants and stuff, but.
I think it's a great idea, except that the whole building being museum itself makes it complicated, you know?
Mhm.
Right, but also it's split, the floor, the part of the floor is elevated where the town board apparently sat. Like if your area was up 3 feet,
Elevated.
so,
We aren't really,
we'll have to use that in a different way than we use the main part of the building,
just-
but,
the handicap access would, in my mind, would basically be to the basic floor, not
to
the,
the main floor, yeah.
not the. It's a stage, as you might call it.
So what's in the back on that one corner?
That's a vault.
Is
it-
concrete?
Is that gotta stay or?
Well,
I think it's part of the history. I mean, if you look at it.
it's in great condition, so I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Laura
That's where they
has
kept
it,
all the money back. in the day.
Yeah.
Laura has it, that one of the.
That's where all the
trustees had
taxes went.
records had all the records in his house, and the house burned down. So the town went and decided, well, maybe we better make something that's fireproof to put stuff in. That's what the rumor is.
Called the vault.
So what do you see as the next step? Would it be getting an architectural firm in to kind of?
Yeah, we talked to one about doing that, but I think that the next step is the two groups saying, yes, this is a good idea, we support it. Maybe we can look at a variance for one of the designs, just for a point, see what the next door neighbor thinks, we need to talk to them.
I have talked to the neighbors, they're very much in favor, so,
You know,
someone explained to me that, since the library will be assisting us and we are in the village, that, the village, well, I can't say they own it because the township owns it, but, the village sort of has some thing to say about the rules of the setbacks and everything. And, the township, owns the building, so, maybe something like this could be managed by a memo of understanding. And I have a sample one that's just simply a sample off the internet, if you wanna look at it, but maybe that would be an approach. But I think we just have to keep exploring. I don't have another step right now at the moment. I think we just, I think probably we would look to, somebody to give us more of an accurate, estimate of what it would cost.
I have talked to an architectural firm that's working in my house addition, and they'll give us, it's not free, but at a reduced level, they can give us a nice concept for a really good one for 5,000. Just a nice outside view for 2,500 or so.
General consensus, we're all in favor of it. Just reading faces, I can speak for anyone else, but I like the idea.
We don't need a yes or no right now. We're just introducing.
But I think you're right,
it
maybe
and
do your
open to
additional
ideas.
exploratory and then come back,
Yeah,
sure.
with some kind of lease agreement, memo of understanding
Yeah.
that would allow you to proceed with the next steps.
I think the key question we have from talking to an architect, is there a way and is it possible to do some kind of variance on that side yard setback? Because that gives us a whole bunch more room to work with, if we can do that.
We have to go to the Board of Appeals, but
How far?
Right now it's 14 feet from the corner to the fence. It hasn't been surveyed.
How close do you wanna get to the property line?
What?
We like,
But that's something we need to figure out. The 7 feet is what I understand is right now. Is
Should have at least 3 for maintenance though, and then we need overhang.
You know.
Yeah.
And it has to be, you know, it has to be cooperative with the next door neighbor. I mean, they have some room on their side, but it's not big.
Well, you'd be looking at about a 7 foot by 10 foot addition on the back end, right? In order to get to right up to their fence line, according to your.
Yeah.
So that's not, if you take the 3 foot off, he's mentioned even on that math, you're only building like a 7 by 8 addition on the back.
Yeah, it's not very big.
Yeah, just enough to get entrance in the.
If you go with the other one that's got a parallel wall to the thing, you can get a little more. It's a more awkward building because it's got a lot of corners.
Is the first thing you gotta do is figure out where the property line is. That's the first thing you do, before you do anything. Yeah.
So what they did, is use the county GIS map and, but.
You gotta know where the property line is.
Yeah.
No matter where that fence is, where's the property line? Maybe it's 20 feet on the other side of it.
Yeah, it would have to be surveyed out, yeah.
Who knows?
I guess what I would say, Bill, is, I know the village board, you guys did a nice presentation, Nancy did. We're all in favor of it, but it's really not our property, it's the township. So I'd leave that up to them, but as far as the setbacks and everything, I'm sure the planning commission would work with you guys in the
That's
neighborhood, we
something-
could.
If we're gonna build, I would like to, you know, go talk to them about what could be done, what would the neighbor, what would be okay, and fire protection, all kinds of good things. But,
would the variance come from the village or from?
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah.
Board of Reviews, right? Zoned right
Board
now.
of Review,
Board of Review.
Changing
Board of
zone.
Review.
Isn't that meeting next week?
There is a meeting. next
Yeah,
week.
but they would need more time.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
asking.
Yes.
I mean,
And we can, you know, send a letter of support, but that's, you know,
So what is it zoned at?
zone,
It says other classification.
Oh,
yeah, because
You know, it would be
Because it's-
helpful
other municipality.
to understand what other historical buildings, how do they have? I mean, I've heard of places where for $1, you turn it back over to, the historical society. Cause I know there's some challenges when the building is the townships. I mean, we can't invest in physical structures in the village. We can make a donation, like for instance, the library, we couldn't donate money to build a room, but we could donate money for property, non-physical property, like for instance, chairs and things. So there's some legal things we need to talk about. And, maybe you can do some research. How does the New Richmond Historical Society, what are the options with the St. Croix Historical Society, where maybe the property is turned over to the Historical Society of something as a subchapter of the county or.
that would be the Heritage Center, and I think that is operated a little bit differently, but we plan to check on them. We plan to talk about it.
So it's a good idea, it sounds like, and secondly, there's some of these questions are just where can we put it, because we really don't want to mess up the look of the building if you look at it from the front or thing on one side. And we'd like to have it, so it looks the same.
As far as access coming on that, the east side, there's always the opportunity of switchbacks too, to gain
Yeah.
your ADA compliance.
With 6 feet of height, that's 140 feet of switchbacks. Now, it could be done, but I mean, just to put a number on the
Yep.
problem.
Ed, do you wanna do almost like a roll call type thing for the township to see, just to have them?
I
kind of
think,
maybe move
she was
forward?
at our meeting, we've already kind of expressed that we're in favor of it. For the concept, whether it can meet all the requirements as far as setbacks and everything, but we told them we were in favor of it, so.
Great, okay.
Excuse me, Ed, were those trees gonna be moved out of there? I mean, it's
Yeah, we
buckthorn
had, I don't know if they've
and
done it
box
yet.
elder and such.
Yeah, we contacted our tree service to do it.
Okay,
We contacted.
I met somebody up there one day, I literally walked.
He probably was looking at them.
He was looking at them, so I wondered if that's gonna happen, because it'd make
Yep.
measuring and everything so much.
It's gonna, it's gonna happen, so I guess I haven't drove by there to see if they did it.
No,
I
They're
don't
still
think
standing.
anything
Still
was
standing,
done,
okay.
but,
I never asked them when they were gonna do it.
right, then that's fine, there's
Yeah,
no
they're
hurry.
contracted to do
It
it.
would be nice to work.
If we want to get a survey for the line, is that the town's job or how would we
Probably,
do it? You know, get,
Yeah,
make sure we know
properties.
that fence is in.
Yeah.
We can look for stakes, metal
I
stakes.
mean, that's also something we haven't done, so know exactly what that was.
Yeah, well, the village, I can't speak for everybody, but we can help out with the township with any surveying.
I agree. I mean, I think we're all saying we want to support whatever we need to do. You know, some of it's not in the village's hands, the board's hands, you know, the Board of Appeals, but we'll strongly encourage
Thank you.
the variance needed.
Any ideas on how much a water hookup's gonna be nowadays?
Well, that could be something we can consider as, you know, it's an in-kind,
I think it's 30, it was 15 grand.
I think it's 3,400 dollars.
but I'm just saying that's something maybe we consider,
We eat.
in kind. That's just thing, something to consider. We'll look into it.
You know, if you get, with the two groups working together, you could probably get a fair amount of the stuff taken care of, so.
I don't know that we need to cover anything on that. Do you guys have any other questions for us or
No, I
anything?
just.
No, thank
All
you.
right, thank you much.
Anybody else for public comment?
Okay.
Very much, Nancy and Rita.
PJ Law there, Somerset End here. We have just so everybody knows and it's clear, we have a ICUP to have so many events a year. And we got some complaints because of the, two of the shows, we had a 2-day rehearsal for each show. And, we got complaints, I got phone calls from the board members and stuff that, they wanna look at this and see what, if we can change it. Well, in our ICUP, we're good for so many events a year. We're not even up to an eighth of them right now that we can use. So I don't know what the big, and we were done way before curfew. One was in the afternoon and one ended at 10 o'clock at night. So. With that being said, I don't even know why we're bringing it up, for one thing. And then. This is for the township, for the road. Any complaints about the road from the last 2 shows? In the township?
You're not supposed to make comments, a public comment.
Oh, well, we'll do it later then.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people use that road to come in and to leave, mostly to leave. So. It's uncontrolled out there right now. I guess that's it for me.
Good. Maybe we can bring it up more when it's, we talk about the parking. Actually, while you're up, there was an issue with somebody parking on Spring Street without a conditional use permit and was backing up traffic.
Oh, yeah, that, I figured we'd bring that up later, but yeah, we have, so anybody that parks cars has to have a conditional use permit to park cars. Why are these people on Spring Street parking cars in their yard, stopping traffic when we have to have a traffic plan? John and Becky have to have a parking plan. You gotta have porta potties, security guards, everything. And those 3 houses on that road, they park cars, they literally go out in the road and stop traffic. And don't even give them the option, they bring them right into their yard. And probably in the last 2 shows, I've been down there twice. I know the chief has been down there a handful of times. And there's nothing we can do about it, or they can do about it, because they said it's under the building inspector. So we have a good traffic plan now, and we're working with that other parking lot to get everybody off the road. But then when they're going down Spring Street and those people are out on the road stopping traffic, We need that traffic to keep going.
We have it on the public safety agenda next Monday to talk about with the chief and how we can,
Well, it can't just be talked about.
You know, I know,
Gotta
but-
be, something has to be done.
that's what I mean, how,
Because these next
what
shows are
action,
coming up,
what
they're gonna
action
be
plan we're gonna take. So I'm just
Big
saying it's
traffic
on
thing.
the public safety agenda to,
Okay,
And that's why it was on, I put it on this agenda because of our first. Or our only real board meeting, full board meeting before their next show, so that way
their
we
next
can
show is the 8th,
give,
and they're gonna go out and stop traffic.
we can give Joel some direction, so sorry for the. It's not much of a township issue, but it's still with the traffic direction, we have flowing the township road.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else public comment? Joint meeting minutes from January 24th.
Motion to approve the Wednesday, January 24th joint town village meeting.
I'll second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Approval of financial report.
We should have one page that's two-sided like normal, that's the actual activity of the department. And then there's one that is just budget related. We got the FEMA grant, so there's that revenue coming in and then the expense related to that, that's probably the everything there.
Curious, what was the federal grant for?
Vehicle exhaust removal.
Oh, okay.
One thing that we will be changing or have to change per the state on our budget is gonna be the 2% money when it comes in. So we have to account for where that goes and make sure it hits what they say is eligible for that money, not just put it in the budget and just spend it in our budget. So we'll be trying to figure out how to keep track of that next year, or we'll do it this year for the end of the year. But then there's also that deal where, we set a budget a number and then it comes in higher or lower. And the higher side, we're gonna have to figure out what to do with the extra money by the end of the year as well, because it won't be budgeted, we'll have to do it. So whether we put it in the firefighters' pensions or how we'll figure that out as it comes, but I don't think it's gonna go down anytime soon, so.
Is it just a bookkeeping thing then? Because you're really not.
Yeah, they
You're already
were,
putting money into your.
we were told, so we had a 2% audit, we were told if that was our real full audit, we would fail. And we weren't the only way, everybody around here was failing. So he came in, I actually was in Jamaica, so I missed it, but Jason was there with him and gave us plenty of ideas. I know him, the guy that was huge, so I can easily reach out to him and make sure we're doing it the right way, so we don't have any issues of failing. So I don't think it's gonna be a big deal, just.
Yeah, what stuff qualifies and then we
Yeah.
can just
Other show
come
where
up,
it's called.
here's what we got. And then just detail the expenses and the amount to show them if they came in audited next year, because they could, just to see if your controls are in place. At least we feel like here's our expenses and
Did
everything.
that
to show
report
that-
published at all? Was that given to you in a hard copy?
I don't think he actually did an actual audit, I think it was just all sitting down and talking, but it wasn't a full audit. I think a full audit would be able to story.
I know Chris.
For instance, Balsam Lake Fire Department is on the brink of being shut down. And so they're, because of these similar things, like, but they've had a history of it, so they're trying to get Cushing Fire and some other fire departments actually making agreements to cover their whole area because they're not gonna have a fire department here pretty soon. And they're trying to have a joint fire department, like 3.
I know Chris.
I think a lot of it
about
is
some of the
documentation.
ordinances relating to it too, because the definition.
Yeah, we still have to work on that because we have to make sure that both village and towns, when it comes to fire inspections, that they're matching. We're following state law by doing 1 a year rather than 2 a year. But both ordinances don't read that the same. One does and the other doesn't. So we just have to make that. That was one of the other things that came out of it. And that I think is very easy to change.
But didn't you say there was something to do with the architecture or the number of chiefs and assistant? chiefs
Yeah,
were different
yeah.
too?
I honestly, I'm gonna just pull them all, look at them side by side and make mine what I think it should look like and then. Give it back to you guys to figure out what you think or if you want to wait, or way I show you.
Because if, and nobody else knows the action items, you're gonna have to help.
Right.
You need help.
Right, and the titles and they've changed, and I don't, you know, again, I don't think we'll change them anytime soon or add anybody. As time changes and we grow, yes, we'll probably have other officer positions and you'll probably have to re-update your ordinance at that point, but. I think we could easily clean it up right now and make a match.
Anybody want to make a motion on the financial report?
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report as provided.
Second. First and second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I'd like to make a motion, since we have Chief Trepchak on Zoom, I know he's got a meeting, he's gotta get to, right after this. I'd like to make a motion to move up discussion consideration of that concert traffic route, parking without conditional use permit and noise up on the agenda.
Second.
First and second for the discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Joel, are you, still listening in?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
So, Joel, it's, you, has the police department been taking care of the conditional use permits or people violating the conditional use permits?
Yes, so we recognized this being an issue last year. I ended up talking to the folks on Spring Street, informing them of the ordinance, gave them a copy of the ordinance. Then they kind of changed their strategy to this, instead of like advertising parking, they said, well, what if we just have friends come and park here? So then they started, you know, casually filling up their front lawns. And then once in a while, it depends on who it is. There are some people that were voluntarily compliant and they stopped parking in their front yards, and then another person kind of continued to violate. So I kind of talked it over with the front office to kind of review the ordinance, review other permits that have been lawfully permitted. And, you know, I kind of informed these residents of this process of going to the front office, the village hall, getting a permit. Well, it turns out if you are zoned residential, you don't have the ability to get a conditional use permit for parking. So, kind of last year went by, this year started. Stopping traffic. I knew that happened last year. That's something that we 100% have jurisdiction over. We can intervene with, but in terms of the conditional use permit, which is in chapter 13, it talks about the zoning administrator being the one who has jurisdiction over kind of recourse for violations. And I guess our plan last year was to document and forward what we had and who we identified as violators, to present to the appropriate jurisdiction. But this year, you know, I really haven't had a whole lot of contact over there. So I did point it out to EJ that I did notice it. Some people parking in the yards again this year, and essentially we gotta figure out a solution and how it's enforceable and who should be doing the enforcing. Because I don't know if one, if I have jurisdiction, and two, if you know, an $88 ticket's probably not going to do the trick if they're making $1,000 a concert. So I guess I'll open it up to discussion.
I guess I don't know, what do you guys think, but
I'll just say historically, at times we made Doug, the previous fire chief, or police chief, zoning administrator, deal with property complaints when there was yards that had lots of stuff in it that was hazardous and needed to be cleaned up. So he did take on the zoning administrator role at those times. So we can I mean, that's within our purview to direct that.
And about 8 months ago, so we've never had a zoning administrator or zoning administration. So about 8 months ago or so, we made the planning commission is also the zoning administration, so. I would think this, Joel, if you can bring it to the zoning or put it on planning and zoning, and then we can, discuss that and probably put it down to you guys for the parking issues and look at what those fines are and make them meaty enough where people aren't violating it, or I know I've talked to EJ about this, but you know, you go to the Minnesota State Fair and everybody's able to park in everybody's yard, so I don't really care one way or the other, but it should be either kind of all or none. That's my thoughts.
That makes sense to me. And it's rather isolated. You know, we limit parking on village streets during concerts for a reason that's been past practice dating back well before me. But there's like legitimate public safety reasons behind that, and having a mass mob of pedestrians leaving and walking blocks across streets, I would argue is a legitimate public safety concern. And again, I feel like the issue we're having right now is rather isolated. We've gotten some voluntary compliance and cooperation in the past. But yeah, I think if we nip it in the bud and we enforce it consistently, and evenly, I think it's going to be a non-issue. And I think the new traffic plan, which doesn't involve any township roads, bringing them all in off of Double V and exit 9, has been well received, and we really haven't had major traffic backups. For ingress and egress has been smooth.
I think the biggest frustration is that it's free parking, so I mean, that's why I just don't understand why it's an issue, you know what I mean?
But, and I think, you know, everybody doesn't know it's exactly free parking, and if you have people out on the road just saying, turn in here, and then all of a sudden they get turned in, I'm of the opinion that if you're paying for parking, it should be labeled $20 parking or $25 parking or whatever it is, so they don't just think it's concert parking, I park here for free, and then they go in and there's no place to turn around, or it stops, backs everything up. So I think it should be something that we should address in our conditional use permits and our ordinances. Thoughts? Nancy?
I think that a good way to limit it would be to make a minimum number of parked cars other than the cars they own. But the big issue back in the day is that people come from the concert and they have to go to the bathroom. And so we have people doing that all over, by the side of the road, wherever. So between our tanks up at River ULP, you can see the heads bobbing. So, I mean, if there's gonna be parking, they have to have at the very minimum, outhouses or.
So EJ, unfortunately, I don't know that we can really give you an answer for this, but we'll work with Joel and.
Thank you, that was a comment.
Thank you. Work with Joel and see what we can do for the future. Hopefully you can get something done before the big concert. And as far as the noise, my suggestion would be just, and it was just a couple of keyboard warriors on a community page, but, and I got plenty of texts and a few emails about it, but maybe just put something out there that, and I know you guys were doing rehearsals and you didn't want people showing up to see the rehearsals, but if you just put, we're gonna be doing sound checks today and tomorrow, and that way people are just kind of informed in advance. That would be my only suggestion.
And then also you're gonna use those days against your event days, is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
each day would be
nothing
the,
up there unless.
yeah, you got 22 days.
Yeah.
So in a practice day would take away one of
So
those.
both those were 3-day concerts, we called it pretty much.
Right,
So that's 6 days right there.
yeah,
Okay, that's just wanted to,
that's the way I look at it.
yeah, That's kind of what we had said, I had said to some of the folks that said, I said they have.
But then if you read further into the permit, it also, depends how many people we have there too. There's a whole nother
Sure.
graph there.
But is that doable, EJ? We just have you or somebody else put something on?
Yeah, it'll have to be like on, social media or something, cause at once. It hits this area. But yeah, we can't say, bands up there.
No, I'm just call it sound check. We're gonna be doing sound checks tonight and tomorrow, and just so you're aware, it's gonna go from approximately 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. or whatever it is.
What is it?
Just so people are.
10 o'clock here, Monday through Friday? Unless it's a concert.
11 and midnight.
What's that?
11 and midnight,
Monday through Friday, 11 to midnight?
Yeah. 11 o'clock.
11 on weekdays, midnight on weekend.
Right.
Right.
Now I see what you.
I was just gonna, you presented to the board a traffic plan. And I never heard an update. I know a couple board members attended a meeting on with public safety. And it was identified that you wouldn't be using town roads.
We're
You're not, I shouldn't say you would be directing people on town
We're
roads.
not directing.
Um,
They just did it on their own.
okay.
Cause
And
I was up on the north end.
as far as the
We had to
traffic,
put people up there because we weren't expecting that many people coming from the north. And a lot came from the north,
okay,
so I'm just.
The mapping programs will show when cars slow down, whatever, and show the best, fastest routes, so it'll, whatever Google Maps or Apple Maps, or whatever mapping program is supposed to get you there the quickest way.
Yeah, we're not directing people, telling them to use that route at all.
okay, and you're,
I'm just saying that they're using it, so. We as a town board, there might be some, might wanna get a couple cops out there or something, to the police.
so the
I have to
town
go
board
with
would get cops out there to
Huh?
address.
It would be at your expense. Why would we put cops out there for your concert?
Well, why would, I don't get it.
And what, you're
offered-
creating the problem.
we
Anyway,
offered-
the traffic isn't the problem, it's the noise. Can't you turn the damn thing down? Holy Christ,
Yeah,
you can hear it out to Cedar Lake. There's something wrong. Yeah, I'm sure you can hear it in Minnesota if you went
so,
in the right spots.
I mean, I know it was loud, but it was loud for those rehearsal days. What they were doing is they were testing the distance without the delayed towers. Because it's kind of hard to explain, but when they use the delayed towers. Like the night of the concert. You probably didn't even hear it.
Mm-hmm.
The night of the concert,
It went till 11 o'clock.
really?
Yes.
Well, I know it
It's
was
crazy.
crazy,
I think,
but with that sound system in there, it bounces back. So,
a lot of complaints.
Which way was it facing?
but we're well, it faces
The sound.
the sound,
Yeah.
I could hear. it
Our
out at
faces
two
both
buckets.
ways now. That way they don't have to have it loud.
EJ, I believe when we had brought this up last time, we had said that you were gonna forward over your guys' Live Nation's policy on decibel levels and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah,
Did we ever get that?
I didn't receive anything.
I thought Adam sent it to you.
We could,
He'll be here tomorrow.
we
We'll
could
get
get
it.
that.
But our decibel level is way less than. Normal.
Yeah, it's hard to know what it is without seeing.
Yeah.
What's outlined in your guys' policy.
And we got decibel level.
Yep, and retweeted or whatever you guys are.
Can I finish up on that? Because I know you talked about the last two. At one point you talked about the last three, then you changed to the last two concerts. That the volume was gonna be maybe at least 50% to 75% more, maybe even double the number of ticket buyers. Do you know what that stands at right now?
What now?
As far as the first concerts were gonna be less
Yeah.
attendees, and the last
Yeah.
concerts were gonna be quite increased numbers.
Actually, not quite. We're going from 7,000 to 10,000 for the next concert.
Okay, and then the last
And
two,
The last, second to last, I think is 14, and then what's the other one, 18,
15, I think.
15? So 10, 13, 15. And you guys should have gotten an email. Did you get an email for last month?
We got I got one email and that was just after you,
Did it have the counts on
it did at that point.
it? Okay,
So that was probably, was that 2 months ago or a month and a half ago?
I'll send you an updated one.
June 18th was the last one I received.
So if there was a lot of traffic on town roads and you're saying we should get a cop, don't you think that the concert should provide?
Yeah.
with-
We offered and you didn't want it.
Well, that's because the sheriff, it's my understanding the sheriff didn't want to put them on town roads for safety reasons.
Okay,
We don't want a route, but if people are using it, then maybe. Somebody's gotta patrol it if they're using it as a route.
yeah.
Even though it's not a map.
I'm just saying, I just said that for another safety issue. That somebody should probably be out there, because a lot of people did use the road.
Well, who do you think should pay for that?
I have no idea, but not us.
So the concert creates safety issues on town roads. And the town should pay for that when we don't have a police force, we just have sheriffs, and the sheriff's department will be busy.
Okay, so let me ask you this, when I offered all that before. Because I knew they were gonna use the road, and all you guys said no, every one of you said no.
We didn't say no, I think we
Yeah,
wanted
you
to
did.
get more
Cause
information.
then you asked me, well,
You said no to-
why don't you just pay for it?
At the time, I believe, we were looking, we
We,
wanted to be a
we
part.
were trying to make maybe a group thing together where, sure, give us your blessing to use the road. And then we'll patrol it, we'll do everything, we'll put signage out there and everything. You guys all said no, period, flat out.
Could we,
Okay,
could we just set up maybe a video call or something with maybe Ed, myself, you, Joel, and Knudsen? And then we'll just,
We've done all this, Mike.
I know, but we got, the biggest concerts are still left, so instead of complaining about it at the end of the year after the fact, let's just try to.
Our new traffic plan has us not telling anybody, not flagging them out that way at the end of the night. We're using county BV to come in. We got a new traffic plan. I made a new entrance into the parking lot. And it worked really good. So,
So we got Hootie and the Blowfish, Thursday, August 8th. Projected attendance 12,000. Luke Bryan, Thursday, September 5th, 10,000 projected. And then Willie Nelson with the Outlaw concert that Friday, the 6th. Estimated projected attendance 14,000. Might be a little bigger than that, because a month and a half ago was already.
I think it'll be bigger than that, I think.
You just mentioned 18,000, so,
Yeah, that's my number.
okay.
Ryan, you mentioned a meeting coming up. What's that about?
Our regular public safety monthly meeting this
What's
Monday.
gonna be on the agenda for that?
Right now we have concert issues, noise. You know, just a general discussion on concert issues so far. Basically get an update from the chief on so far and get, for us to give feedback to the issue.
Do you guys have any more questions, comments, or concerns for EJ before we move on?
I just got one question. On Clear Drive over there.
I
Where,
already know you were gonna ask me. I
or,
got permission to do that project from Bob Gunther
okay,
and the chief of police and
to take the curb out there,
Mike,
Well, I just said we should put it on.
put the driveway in there.
to take the curb out,
So, yeah,
okay.
if you leave the curb there, they'd have to jump over the curb.
I understand what you're saying, I'm just asking a question.
Yeah. You
Is,
did on the last time. we
Our-
took the other-
now you're bringing the traffic.
Yeah.
Across that road. And you're basically blocking off that driveway from egress.
The driveway?
Yeah, because all the traffic now
You mean
used
the
to be
three cars,
spaced
three
over with.
houses that are back there?
Okay, can I finish what I'm saying? There used to be cones that used to separate the people coming in. And they would go straight in. Now that cones are gone and all that traffic is coming back across and going into that one space. Is there any thoughts about why that can't be moved back over and coming around, or is it does it not make any sense to go straight into that?
Move it over where?
Go straight into the access that you currently have with those gates.
So
Instead
that gate, that opening was put in there to bring in general admission,
Mhm.
and then there's a divider there, and then that other big roll gate. That's where the ADA. And all the other people come in, the premier parking and all that stuff. So. Now if we take that out in the middle. Now everybody's gonna be coming in together. But right now we actually have 3 entrances to come in.
on that road.
Yeah,
So there's 3 lanes coming in on that road. How does anybody get off of, get out of that road or access into?
well, we got
into-
10 people standing there. If one of them neighbors has to get out, we're good friends with all of them. We'll let them out. You think we're gonna keep them in there, Don?
I'm just asking a question, because before you had 1 lane going straight in, 1 lane going to the right into
Yeah.
the road, into the driveway that you guys created. Now you have 3 lanes coming in. Basically, it's like you're taking over that other lane that was used for egress and ingress for that driveway.
Well, first thing, it wasn't my idea. My idea was completely different.
Mhm.
That was the chief of police, Mike. And a couple other people. To do what we did there.
Okay. I'm just asking the question, is for access, is there consideration to coning off that spot so that they can get in and out?
We'll just
instead
let
of-
them out. You know, our people are there. We'll just let them out when they wanna leave.
Did you get a complaint done here, or is that just an activation?
Yeah, I got complained.
Which one?
Doreen asked me why they put a,
Who's Dr. Doreen?
well, I'm telling you, she brought it up to me.
I'll call her when we get done.
Well, that's the whole point of the deal. She said there was no discussion, there was no request from the Public Works to remove a curb on that. That was Village Street there, isn't it?
Mhm.
Okay. There was no meeting or any discussion with us. Yeah, so all of a sudden the curb disappears and she's like, why do they have a driveway in? Was there a permit that was authorized for it? I don't know. So I said, I'll ask the question, because I was more concerned also from them to be able to access and stuff like that off of that road. And if it wasn't your idea, which I'm not saying it was, it's still worthy of us having a discussion about what makes most sense. When we start pulling curb and gutter off of, or curb off of
Donnie,
a road.
it's not Doreen, it's you. You did the same exact thing when we took the curb off the other side. Same exact.
Let's,
And you blame the people living on the road.
I wasn't even in town when I got the call.
let's
So,
move forward, and it was my idea to open that area up and have a large staging area in that huge fields to get all the cars off of Main Street and County Road Double V there. So the traffic doesn't get backed up, so that was my idea. As far as the curb goes, I said if you needed a special board meeting or something to address it, we could.
And I talked to Gunther, and I called Brian Wirt, his company, and then said to talk to Gunther. I talked to Gunther, and Gunther said, do it. So I'll be able to
Yeah.
direct its permit.
Yep, and I think we should probably have, if it ever needs to get put back in, we should have some kind of a letter of understanding or something like that, but that doesn't have to happen at this meeting. Anybody else before we move along? Old business, discussion consideration, Parent Street, 180th Avenue jurisdictional transfer. Thank you, EJ.
Thoughts?
You guys are ready to transfer the 180th over to us?
Guess so. I mean, it's
Who put this on? Did you guys put this on the agenda?
was on the agenda way back in January and for further discussion, but, it seems like you're adding on to it all the time and you actually punch in driveways without getting, permits from us and everything, so you might as well just take the thing.
Oh, anyways, this is gonna come Sunday, we're around that area.
You might as well own
is
it.
that a motion?
Oh, yeah, whatever, I don't, you know, it's no.
I think we have
no
to have,
use to us.
We'll have to be a
We can,
CSM
yeah,
drawn up to do the transfer, but
we can make, you can make the motion and if it carries, then we can move forward with it.
with the paperwork.
What? In the past, when you guys do a development, that developer is required to do curb gutter all the way down, but. You own the land, you give permits for buildings. There's no street improvement though, like when the bluffs went in, we had the curb and gutter both sides all the way up. But now that you guys want it, they're not doing anything. They just re-ditched the whole thing in the last 2 days. We require a 2-foot shoulder on the side of the road. We don't have that no more. They seeded right up too. And if you guys are gonna do curb and gutter, how do you want them, the landscapers to leave that? So right now it's grass seed all the way up. That's what you're gonna get stuck on.
We have a major development going in there, so there's a significant development going in that area. And Parent Street is going to be partially reconstructed, so I mean, those construction standards haven't been set yet.
Where are all these people gonna park? There's 3 buildings going in there.
More than 3 buildings.
No, you're talking,
The little stretch right
Lenny,
there.
you're talking about growing leagues, we're
Yeah.
talking about something else.
There's another project in
Yeah.
this area.
I'm talking growing lanes,
Yeah.
because like right now, I
Most
have
of those people don't have parking. Those individuals are.
It'll be mostly
are all
van drop-offs and
workers.
caretakers, workers.
Workers and visitors, and then the rest of it's gonna be parking lot real soon,
Right.
roads and. A lot of construction going on there.
So I take it the town's ready to turn it over. We just gotta get the paperwork done and the village to accept, right?
Do we know if all the landowners, if they own just the road right away or if they own to the center line?
Cause now I've got stakes 33 feet in the line yard.
Well, either way, it would be the transfer the right of way, so.
Yeah.
We dig it.
Whether you guys technically own the land underneath it or they own it, we're transferring the right of way jurisdiction.
We have a board meeting next Wednesday. You guys say it's that, or is it appropriate to do it at the joint?
You can make a recommendation and we can move forward at that with the recommendation. Cause then we can get a hold of our guys and take care of it on our end too, if that's the route you guys wanna go.
Well, we're all here right now. What's anyone's thoughts on a survey on it? What do you guys work with?
MSA.
Same survey, do they?
Yeah, we ordered through Chuck.
Yeah.
Same as you, right?
What do we have for information on the road at the town hall?
I have no idea.
There's gotta be some kind of meets and bounds, or there's gotta be from when it was constructed or turned over.
Because yeah, to turn over, you have to have the exact legal description of.
We'll have to check in with Jared and see what we have.
And you guys aren't in a hurry to turn it over, so.
No, it's not, it's just that there's no point that we should own it anymore.
You wanna start the process then?
Yeah, I think we should.
Make a motion, we start the process of looking into jurisdictional transfer of 188 over to Parent Street.
Frank, for 1 second.
First and second, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, same sign? Fair enough. Discussion, consideration, Parnell Prairie Disc Golf update.
I asked Justin, who's one of the project managers out there, if he could come and kind of share where they're at, just to give a quick update of what the town has done. We provided materials for the tees, which was basically landscape blocks, wood timbers, some gravel and sand, so they could work it, but it was all done by volunteers. And then on Monday, we had one of our town road crew went out there and worked on stumps, and he was able to get all the stumps ground down within about probably 8 hours. So we've got the stumps down. And I think Ed had talked to Joe again, and apparently there's a smaller mower we can put on, and he's gonna go out and try and get
He's
some
gonna do some more with this tractor tomorrow,
Yeah,
probably tomorrow. On the back course there, he pushed a bunch of the brush and stuff all the way, so.
And I think we're ready to start finishing up the back 9 and have a full week.
I walked it the other day, I thought, well, once you push the brush away and mow it, I think it'll be a good start.
It's been amazing not to be able to walk the dog back in there. It's just kind of a nice little
about 2 mile route that we traded through woods.
I pulled a wagon with my chainsaw and a few other tools in there through that 16 and 17. Oh my gosh, it's 6 foot high.
Oh, yeah,
The rain's been pretty bad
Yeah.
this year.
they'll be able to mow it.
Yeah, and I did bring that up with Bob, just to ask. I know when we first kind of started, I was kind of a little overzealous, and I kind of said we could, we hope to take care of this, after some further discussions. We just don't have the equipment to drive out. I mean, we have the equipment, but to drive out there, the tool cat, and drive back out, I mean, it takes a while just driving your car back and forth out there. I mean, and we can hardly keep up with the grass and stuff we got in the village now, so. I did ask the question. I don't think we'll be able to help out with the maintenance, so.
Oh, God, garbage would be good, you also got a lot of garbage. Baskets and all 18 baskets.
I can answer the garbage, I didn't specifically say garbage, but the mowing was, garbage. we can Specifically.
Talked about doing it yearly. Like we would do it this year and next year, you guys would do it.
Right, yeah,
We'll put it on Public Works for
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah,
agreed. Yeah. we gotta figure
but
out
I'd like,
how to-
Justin, maybe just to update the whole board, joint.
Yeah, how many holes we got now? We got all eight.
So 9 are currently playable, but there are 18 baskets in the ground.
Yeah.
We do have T-pads for 8 of the first 9 holes. There's 1 hole on the north side that we don't have a maintenance path into yet. And I'm not ready to carry 16-inch by 16-inch pavers back there, just got it at 27 of them. Like, you can't get a pickup truck back in there. Chris, the other core designer, and myself are very, very cautious when it comes time to remove any sort of tree, because it takes years to put a tree back. Much to the frustration of some disc golfers, because you hit them a lot. I'm trying to do it very cautiously, with respect to the prairie, with respect to the surrounding area. I know Bill has certainly voiced some concerns with some of our layouts. We've gone through 40 different layouts of different types of things we can do out there. The first year in walking, I pulled over 100 ticks off myself. This year I'm down to 3, so we're getting something rushed there now. It's better.
The sprayed works.
I've been spraying. I don't think anybody else has been back there.
I haven't seen it surprised, there really wasn't any bugs back there the other day at all.
I don't know. It's a lot of sand back there. It's really easy digging, so it dries out really quick. But nice, very few mosquitoes. Yeah, trying to keep as natural as we can, trying to make sure we stay off the proper prairie in the middle. T-pads, we went with the cement pavers, so we could haul them out. And if we don't like them in the future, they're used to pull out. We're getting cement back in those areas would be big equipment, and we would be ruining trails. There's a lot of great nature walking back in there, so trying to make it a collaborative effort between Lowell with his birds, the garden club, the prairie, and just helping on the woods to make it an attraction. I really think it'll be.
It's our own version of diversity.
You know,
I know there was some discussion at our last board meeting about even expanding the parking lot, not blacktopping more, but maybe moving the rocks a little bit and bringing some gravel in. Because the parking lot's actually been full some evenings.
Most of the time I'm there at like 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays and Sundays. That's when I can get away from the wife and kids to work on the course. Not a lot of people there at those times. So yeah, you guys have probably seen it more than I have.
Doug, on that note, I was gonna take some measurements and maybe look at what we could do for striping, because I think. You know, depending on how people park, you might be able to get a double row in the center. And then, you know, people, when there's only 5 people in the lot, it's not an issue, but if you get 20 cars in there, it probably would accommodate 20 cars, but you have to know where to park.
Yeah, maybe that'd be a first plan of the pack.
Yeah.
Do you guys, have any signs yet, or you and Holly have any signs yet, like the ones we got out, designs like we had out at the?
We have temporary signs up for the front 9. I think in our head anyway, we would look at getting permanent signs next year, once we make sure that we've got community buy-in, it's been well received, we don't have to move anything else. Right now, we've been very diligent about approaching, we didn't dive in for all 18, try to do the front 9, scale the community, just about interact with each other, make sure that there's some harmony. We don't have to move anything else, then yeah, your resource for the signs you have to put in the village.
Yeah, and-
Ranger disc golf course.
Yeah, and well, Chris has to finish those other 9 first before we can start on the other disc golf course, but
That's fine.
can definitely help out.
Use our marketing manager to make them look pretty, but it's fine.
We just ordered a freestanding sign, and one of the things we wanna try and do is get the garden club. And I've been meaning to go up to one of their meetings, but we wanna have something about the golf course or about the disc golf on one side, and then on the other side, we wanna start highlighting the prairie too, so we'd like to. When somebody walks out there, I would love a sign that kind of showed in October, what wildflowers you're gonna see and where you're gonna see them, and. you know,
Prairie, birds, the disc golf, it's
Exactly.
a wonderful piece of property.
So there's, a lot of gems out there, whether you're bringing a disc with you, or whether you're just going out for a walk with the dog, or whatever it might be, so.
I know you talked a little bit about maybe pursuing getting grants or supports with local businesses. Like even if the mowing gets to be an issue where we have to hire that, what are, the ongoing cost or the maintenance cost? Are you still gonna pursue that and after all 18 are in?
That is something I want to continue to have the conversation on, as I know. We're not set up really to invite a lot of people out there, but having a sustainable league that is acceptable with any sort of trash or bio burden that we bring in as individual versus the amount of funds that it can offset. That place is not beautiful, a lot of prairie, so we need to support both. So if there's a way to have leagues, a few smaller tournaments to be able to bring additional funds in. Yeah, no doubt that those can go back into the course, into the property, and help offset those courses.
What are we doing for garbage out there right now? Do you got cans out?
Pack it in, pack it out. Anytime I make a post on a little Facebook page, that's the rules. And I probably get 3 rounds a month out there right now, and so far clean.
And when Joe goes out there to mow his mower, it's a little compact tractor, right? Just get a bucket on it. Is he able to haul the pavers out to where you need with his?
He probably could if he knew where to put them. It'd have to be marked. We do have. He mows it now, and then he had mentioned it to me, he said too, if you needed a tractor back there or something to dig out for the path door or something, he got a bucket on it. So he could probably bring it back. Yeah, we have a map he provided. Yeah, he had a map that day, but he said, I wanna make sure I'm putting it in the right spot. So, once he gets it mowed, we can look at it.
Yes, so if you guys could help out with the garbage, that'd be great. As far as the mowing. Not just the village kids playing all the ball fields, and you guys maintain all the ball fields. I think we can figure something out on the township side on getting that mowed out there.
So we're not just putting it on the township or the village. You mentioned something about contracting mowing out and maybe splitting that cost, we could do the same thing with garbage maybe.
The thing is, the trails aren't good enough to go out, they're not in good enough condition that you would go out with a finish mower right now, they're pretty brushy. So before anybody would come out there and do any mowing, they have to be in a little bit better shape. A lot of that brush would have to be removed.
But someday would that be an option to contract it out and just split the cost?
Yeah.
Cause so far it seems like that place is just the village is just stuck it on you guys and we haven't helped out much. We don't wanna do that. We wanna help out however we can. So whatever works best.
Although you guys have done a wonderful job with the park. Really, I'm there all the time and I appreciate the work.
Oh, these guys on the disco thing.
Right, yeah, and the paths on the perimeter really opened up more area to walk.
Considering historically what the area was.
Right.
And what it's turned into, so.
Definitely a work in progress, but.
Yeah, to make it sustainable, going down the line where it's mowed well and the people use it, you have to come up with some sort of a plan for that.
Right.
Knowing that the village is gonna be able to really help, and it's just not feasible to get the equipment out there, just come up with a long-term plan.
Right.
And I guess, just so you know, I'll probably start mowing some of the large areas, because you can mow or burn or have cows on it to keep the prairie going. So now that the birds are probably gone and stuff, I'll be whacking some areas in there that get a big area back, because I'm gonna try to get all the brush back down.
So, I think that, well, that's another discussion, but at some point, it never gets big enough to burn. You never get enough heat but at some point, shouldn't the whole thing be mowed?
Essentially, yes, I try to mow everything once.
No, I was just thinking that the main part, we can mow the main part a lot faster with our mower than.
Some of that's pretty rough, some of the goes.
Yeah, but we can mow that with our big mower. You wouldn't even have to bother. I mean, it was like, Joe's coming in with the mower now, and I think before you go out there with your mower, we need to sit down and talk.
There's a lot of steep hills and other places I'm running up and down.
We need to know what needs to be mowed and what should be mowed and when. So we could do a lot of it, I think.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be burned every 4 years, and then it burns all the debris on the ground, and then it promotes actually more pollination.
Right.
Plants come back, gets rid of the brush and the undesirables, so.
But as you see, it's always hitting, that's when it burns.
Yeah, it always.
They don't grow and they don't
There's
burn.
enough heat, there's not enough stuff, but-
I think the fire department just volunteered for a controlled burn.
We haven't, we've been burning.
Well, that's what
very
I'm
for
thinking,
years.
about the middle of October, why don't we just mow it all?
And there's a couple areas that need some of the cedar and the pines taken off. That have got too many, according to Sean, when he looks at it, says.
So that's why I said we need to do a little more, we need to do a little more discussion on that before. Anyway.
Wins.
Thank you, Justin.
So
Thanks.
have
Thank
you
you,
done that property?
Pardon?
There are grants and loans available if we turned it over into a conservation easement. Has that ever come up? Is that something you might?
I'm a little leery on that.
Because it isn't a dump site, there's certain things
Things
that
that
can be done and can't be done.
Exactly
You
right.
can't do any excavation in the area where it's capped, and I'd just be nervous about having somebody else. And then,
Overseeing
Yeah.
well, just
Yeah,
put
that's our
conservation
liability.
liability, we're trying to correct, right?
Well, that would
I
be the
wouldn't
point,
think
is that
so.
setting the parameters of what can be done, and then that's it. And it just leave it to grow as it is.
Who polices it though? That's the thing, I mean.
Chris, you had brought this up before, maybe do you wanna try to look into it and present something to the going forward?
I can do some research and be willing to look at it.
I mean, conservancy law, I mean, the whole
Yeah.
preserves it as is, but
That Tommy Buffalo.
But Doug's question is, how do you enforce it and police it?
Right.
Well, the other question is, can you mow it and stuff like that if it's in conservative?
Well,
You know, that's my question, you know, I mean,
Lose a lot
it
of
needs to be
control.
dealt with for, you know, certain prairie things, if you
So
touch
like you're
that,
too
that's my
feet on
my
the
question.
at this point.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's kind of very little money, did you say like 10 grand or something like that?
That's been great.
kind of like to get about, yeah.
But we don't know what we wanna do with that 20 years from now.
Right, exactly. But it's not able to be developed, right? Because it's, yeah,
No,
yeah.
Discussion, consideration, public safety and Apple River cleanup.
That I asked to be put on the agenda. When you throw videos out there about cleaning up Somerset and doing this, doing that, those are your picnic tables in the river. Everybody sees when they come into town. Any idea when you might pull them out?
I didn't even know they're in the river, because I've sold all the picnic tables.
Yeah, I went down a couple weekends ago and there was a lot of tables down there. And that's where people stopped. I mean, that's where people were stopping and congregating. I think that's the last thing we want on this river is people stopping and congregating.
It's not like I threw the picnic table from the river, so people took them off beforehand and
2 years ago, when you couldn't too, you asked about having floaty parties and there's pictures of everything and your floaty guys out in the river and there's picnic tables out there. The water pushes them down, they put them on, I think underneath it, they float it down. I talked to Steve. Steve, how many picnic tables did you pull out of the river this year? I mean, I talked to him about pulling some of those out. a while ago.
get 9.
9. And then Apple River Family said that they had a couple of them float up onto their shore. But, I mean, when people stop on the river, bad shit happens. 2 years ago, kid lost his life.
there's no picnic tables around.
No, but they stopped. They stopped on the river and they were drinking. And if they would have just kept floating and not stopped, probably would never happen.
Are you sure they're out the river, hideaways, picnic tables? Because if they are,
Either way.
send the guy down there,
they-
clean them up, right?
They're a hazard. Are they still in the river now?
Yeah.
You know, what section? What area?
Right, every night you come home, if you look down there, there's people on the weekends, they're sitting on the picnic tables down there in the river.
Like at Village Park?
No, in the middle of the river where the.
Pretty
just
much
down
there at
there from where
Hideaway
the
and all
stabbing
the way
was.
down to the river, where the bridge is over the
Yeah,
freeway.
okay.
If they wanna stop there with their tube, that's one thing, but if we're promoting them to stop, they're there to float the river, go home.
Right.
Yeah, we should
Yeah,
get them out
that's,
of there.
that's not good. We need to get them out
But-
there
Well, there's a river cleanup scheduled, right?
on the tenth.
On the
It'll be
board,
the whole clean river though.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing on the other side?
We'll be doing the upper again here now.
but why is
Early
it,
on, we moved the ones onto shore that we could. Onto the highway property, some we couldn't get across the river, the current is quite strong earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Finally, in the last about week, calmed down.
Yeah.
So there's some on Frank's land. Some that we just couldn't quite get out of there yet, but I think we can, now that the rivers go down lower.
Well, thank
why
you.
is that Steve's responsibility to take out Pikes Peak?
I guess I'll take a look at it first chance I get. It's not like I said, it's not like I littered them into the river, but I'll take care of it. Anything else on that topic?
No, but Steve, if you're going down and you beat them to it, take them out, bring a sawzall with, cut them in half if you
That's
have.
what I do, just take a little chainsaw, cut them up and just the metal out of there.
David Frame, we could use them at the disc golf course.
Discussion, consideration, no quorum, 24-hour notice, new schedule, cancel meeting.
Yeah, we've, been stood up twice by the village now, and, last time it's pretty irritating that, everybody shows up. From the fire commission to the town board, and the village doesn't have a quorum. It's up to the individuals to notify the president or the chairman. If they can't make it to the meeting, and it's up to the chairman or the president to decide if he has a quorum or not. If he doesn't have a quorum, he should at least let everybody know that we don't have a meeting. Everybody shows up here and it's kind of a kick in the teeth that we all show up and nobody's here.
And
The
I
biggest
know,
difficulty on something like that is, we could have had a quorum, but it's we struggle with the town because the town doesn't allow for zooming into, to get that. I got a phone call, I was able to zoom in, but it was at the town, and town doesn't allow for Zoom to establish a quorum.
But it's still. That could be, but it's still, you didn't call in to say that you weren't. That it wouldn't happen, I mean, it's like, Mike should have said, well, I called and said, well, it's still. We don't allow for it, okay, but then he still should have said, you could call in and said, well, I don't have a quorum, and he might should have called us and said, I don't have a quorum, we would have canceled.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're
and I'm
absolutely right.
sorry.
And on the one in April, I was on a plane, I let, Deja and Doug and everybody know that I'd be on a flight, so I couldn't even zoom in if there was a possibility. I'm not sure what other one you're talking about.
It was before your time, about, it was not too much long, few months before you
Right.
took off.
At that time, at that time, we established parameters. There was a motion made at that meeting to notify the chairman of that meeting that you'd be gone, right, so they could establish that quorum.
So
I
that's-
remember that because I made the motion, but that's why I said it was kind of tough, because I knew I wasn't gonna be there because you guys don't allow, there was no option for Zoom at that meeting, and I let the chairman know, and there was another individual that missed out on it too, and I know you.
Oh,
called
I
me.
called you.
Right, but there was another individual that we thought we actually had a quorum with, of the individuals that were to show up, but it didn't happen that night.
So, and then, just for little clarification too, at the time, it wasn't, Tasia, it wasn't putting it on the calendar, so like, unless you just had wrote it down on your personal calendar, whatever, it wasn't there, but, that's since been fixed, so.
Well, I don't think it's Taja's responsibility to make sure we go to the meeting, we're all grown people here.
Well, it's
It's
on
on
our,
Tasia,
it should be on our schedule.
you're a big boy, you know where to be.
Thank you.
We will do that.
You've been the one that's missed most of the joint meetings until this one, so.
Actually, he isn't the last, and he's gonna call you.
Yeah, so. All right, we'll take care of it. We apologize.
And there's been good attendance at the fire rescue. We've had a quorum each time.
Yeah.
Hey, one more thing on the cleanup thing. Shane wanted brought up was on the news today that went the sentence in Fox 9 News. The main thing, one of the, when they first came on, they're showing you underneath of the highway bridge. And it's all painted up down there. Is there anything that anybody or we can do about that? Graffiti, whatever's on under there? I don't know what to do.
You guys, welcome, you guys welcome, grab a
I'll call
break.
the- I know the highway commissioner, and then he can put a call into the state. I mean, that would be the best.
You know, we had the same
That's the approach.
situation go on up here with vandalism at, three of the businesses here in town. And, everybody got their, pulled their bootstraps up, went out there, cleaned it up and painted it up and fixed it up and had cake and coffee afterwards. So if we got a problem like that, I got time, give me some paint, and I'll go down there and paint it.
Yeah, but it's not our jurisdiction. It's.
I don't think anybody's gonna have a problem.
No, I understand. It's like, it's the state's responsibility though.
Mike,
If we wait for the state,
I
we'll
just,
be here for a long
I
time.
agree. I'm just saying.
so if I'm not mistaken, the state of Wisconsin has a law that tagging has to be cleaned up. So the railroad bridges has to be responsible for their railroad bridge, so clean the tagging up on that. And the state is responsible for the tagging of any of their highways. They have to, so.
And that's why I said I would call the highway.
No, I know
commissioner,
that,
Because the
but-
highway commissioner is the.
Have him call the state.
No, they do the state maintenance.
Okay,
The highway commission, the highway department does, is contracted to do all the state maintenance.
okay, cause I'm pretty sure there's a law in the books that tagging's gotta be taken care of.
And I took care of it for years when I had a tubing business. I paint all the bridges even in town, but I don't have a business there anymore, so I'm not gonna pay for the paint and go out there and take the time to do that.
I could put a call into Robbie tomorrow.
It took me three months to get the paint off the road from the road construction from way back when. So just let you know, it's gonna be all the way down there.
Do you know the date and time of the next joint meeting, Jason?
This is where you guys said it. Would be,
Last Wednesday is. in
October.
September.
Yeah, September.
We moved it because of the budgeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the third quarter we usually moved up.
About September, we did 20.
26th?
20.
26th would be the 4th.
We usually go on Wednesday, right?
Yes.
So it'd be the 25th.
Would that be early enough for your, because your budget meeting would be the next.
Ours is,
The
yeah,
first
ours is right
Wednesday.
after, so we need the fire department budget.
So I mean, is it, so I guess what I'm saying is if our budget isn't kosher and you guys decline it, are you gonna have enough time to have another meeting for us to redo our budget? I don't see it happening, but I feel like we always moved it a little bit earlier.
We move it up to the 18th.
There's a.
No.
Planning commission that night.
Okay, I'm just asking what you're saying. I don't know what your schedule is, so.
Ryan, that's you guys' meeting.
No, not, we don't have everything on Wednesday, the third Wednesday.
No, we're usually have a plan.
Let's just plan that we're gonna get that budget passed the first time through, Travis.
I don't disagree. I'll make sure it happens, and we'll get stuff to it.
You've been quiet on it.
10% cut, will be approved right away.
Wednesday, September 25th at 7 P.M.
We'll do adjourn.
Frank, I'll second.
And then is it gonna be here or your guys?
Who made the motion to?
I did.
Okay.
And second, further discussion on favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 8:23 P.M.
It wasn't on the agenda, but the new truck should be here in 3 weeks.
What did the honorable sell for?
57.